Have live team coverage from the Collin County Courthouse tonight. We're going to begin with our own Andrea Mock, who has been speaking with prosecutors in the case throughout the day. Andrea?
Yeah, JR, that's right. But going back to what you said about Judge Clifton Newman giving Alex Murdaugh a chance to talk in court today, and once again he said, "I would never hurt my wife or son." And Judge Clifton Newman paused and said, "You may not have done it, but the monster you've become did it. A monster who can take 20 to 30 to 40 opioid pills a day is the one who did it," and then sentencing him, of course, to 2 life sentences. Yeah, I got a chance to talk to both Creighton Waters and Alan Wilson, who have worked tirelessly for a year and a half on this trial. Creighton Waters telling me he hasn't slept much and he has lost about 15 pounds during the trial. He said, though, that it all came back to Alex lying. And if you remember that day that Alex took the stand, it was some of the most dynamic testimony that we had heard, the back and forth between Creighton Waters and Alex Murdaugh. And Waters kept pushing him and saying, "Did you sit in front of Tony Satterfield? Did you sit in front of Hakeem Pinckney? Did you sit in front of the Plyer sisters and lie to their faces as you were stealing their money?" He was trying to tell the jury, this is a man who is very good at lying. Here is what Waters had to say about getting the chance to talk to Murdaugh in court.
Obviously, I was looking forward to that, and of course this cross was a little bit different. It's not the kind of cross that you may be used to where you really try to control the conversation too much. I wanted him to talk. I wanted him to keep talking. I wanted to have those long pauses where he couldn't help himself and he would add things in there, and I felt that if we kept doing that, not only could we expose how ridiculous this current story was, but he would be forced to make up a new lie along the way, and the jury would get to see him do that in real time.
All right, if you were watching, you know that Attorney General Alan Wilson also took his turn asking questions during the rebuttal, and that was when Dr. Kenneth Kinsey was on the stand. We heard from him a little earlier during Friends at 5. He is actually a local expert, but has testified in many trials across the country. He's a crime scene recreation expert, and at that time he was called as a rebuttal witness because the defense was trying to poke holes in the story, so they floated the idea of there being 2 shooters. They also floated the idea of the fact that the shot that killed Paul was fired at point-blank range from the back of the head. That was something that Dr. Kinsey said was just impossible. Here's a bit of what Alan Wilson had to say about that day in court.
To me, that demonstration was such a pivotal moment in the trial. The idea that a shooter would scooch past Paul and then come from behind again and shoot him from behind the head. How did you feel the jury took that information that day?
I haven't spoken to the jurors and I haven't heard them comment on it, but I have to think that it probably set things straight. I hope it did. I mean, the whole point of it is, they were saying that they spoke in absolutes. You notice that every defense person, the pathologist who did not examine Maggie, the guy from Connecticut who was a crime scene expert who didn't come to a year and a half later to examine the things, they knew more than the people who were there the night of the murder. They knew more than the people who actually did the work, examined the bodies, and they were able to say with definitive 100% certainty, the shooters can only be 5'2" to 5'4", and there were 2 of them. And we were able just to pick that apart. It was ridiculous, and I think that the jury received it.